14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Here we go, episode 55 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, Willimantic Today, Facebook. Let's see, Spectrum 192. Are there any other places?
YouTube.
Any other platforms? Oh, YouTube, the WILI YouTube page. Plenty of opportunity. Only one way to listen, and that's on WILI 1400 AM or 95.3 FM. Tuesdays 5:05 to 5:30. And of course, as we just mentioned, multiple ways to watch the show. Willimantic Today, Facebook again, Spectrum 192 and the WILI YouTube page. Big thanks to our sponsors, Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind, with 3 great local locations. Right across the footbridge, across the street from the radio station at 679 Main Street, Willimantic, West Main Street, Willimantic, managed by my lovely wife at Gateway Commons, right there by Ocean State Job Lot. That'd be Marianne Gargoni at West Main Street branch, and then Route 195 in Mansfield. Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. Big thanks to J. Matt Rupar, and big thanks to Dawson Florist for having us. Now, we're going to bring in Scott Dawson in just a sec. All the years I grew up in this area, it's Dawson Florist, not Dawson's. I know people say get it confused. Dawson Florist, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No S at the end.
How do you feel about that?
Either way is fine, as long as you call or stop by. We don't care.
That's right. And you guys have been in business since 1904.
1904. Yes.
1904, and it's great to have a legendary business in this town. It's great to have Scott Dawson, and great to be here at Dawson Florist on Pleasant Street, Willimantic. The exact address is what, Scott?
250 Pleasant Street, Willimantic.
Yeah, but everyone knows where it's at because here we are, just Valentine's Day right around the corner, and this place has been cranking all day, and I can't believe we're able to, literally, you guys were able to fit us in here, and we got a beautiful backdrop, and Matt and I walked in here, and I want to thank Scott for the nice little setup, and well, it's great to be here, and I've been using Dawson Florist for many years, and I had a friend of mine, my friend's father passed away recently, and you guys had a nice arrangement for that, and you're the go-to in town when it comes to these special events. If it's a sympathy or holidays or Valentine's Day, right, Scott?
We still have a lot of customers come in and they'll say, yeah, you did my wedding back in 1960, whatever, or, remember coming here for get prom flowers, and I can still remember a lot of those older times. So, yeah, it's kind of nice to hear that. Or talking about some of our family members who used to run the store. So.
Well, I can't wait to get, I'm sure you got plenty of stories. Now, as I mentioned, Dawson Florist in business since 1904. Before we get to know more about you, take us through the history of Dawson Florist here in Willimantic.
Sure. This florist was basically a greenhouse or two and a building for operating. It was owned by a gentleman who lived on the opposite corner on Lebanon Avenue. His name was Southworth. My great-grandfather, came to this town in 1903 from the Springfield area, and he worked here for 1 year in the greenhouses, and the following year he purchased the place from the Southworth. So
The family on Lebanon.
the family that lived across.
And that was
1904.
Wow,
Yeah.
and that was your grandfather.
My great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather.
Yes.
See, we've had a lot of family businesses on Hometown Threads. I come from a family business, the Rice family, WILI. Right, Matt?
Yes.
We've had so many family businesses on this show, and I with all due respect to the other businesses, I'm a little biased to the family business. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not too many. I mean, a lot of them unfortunately, family members just retired and they've been sold off to other outside, the state or whatever businesses.
Well.
But there are a few that are still run by the families. It's good to see. We don't mind because right now at 120 years, we're the oldest continually operating family business. And if I'm not mistaken, right behind us is the Hosmer.
I think, which is right down the street.
Right down the street.
And we had the Hosmer, we had Chuck on. We had Chuck Potvin on last year.
Yeah.
So you're right. So yeah, it would go Dawson then Hosmer.
Yeah.
I wonder who. I'm trying to think who would be third. You know? Off the top
Hard
of my
to
head.
say.
Is it Schiller's? Might be I don't know. But we've had the Schiller's people on too. But so here we are, and it smells beautiful in here. I think, it's a 25-minute show. I think I may just hang out here for the next few hours because it smells beautiful. So, I mean, you got Valentine's Day coming up. We're surrounded by beautiful flowers. What's I don't know. I got a lot more questions to learn about, the history and how you came along with the business. But let's just start with, Valentine's Day, or just any arrangement. What's the most popular floral arrangement, I guess? Okay, for Valentine's Day, I'm guessing probably red roses, right?
If it's not red roses, it would be like a mixture of Valentine flowers, a mix of flowers that we have here in the store. Usually just arranged together by usually my sister and put into a vase and delivered. It's kind of like our bread and butter, our mainstay, delivering flowers in vases. The flowers that we get in, they tend to last a few days longer directly in water. We try to always have a continual supply of flowers coming in all week. All the years we've been doing this, I do most of the flower ordering, so I kind of know what to get every week. If I'm not in and my sister has to do it, she struggles. But
Really?
we each have our roles here. She does most of the designing, and I do a lot of the flower prep, the order entry, all the other stuff, even sweeping the floors and taking out the trash. That's kind of the way we've always run the business, being a small business. And I kind of learned from my father, who learned from his father. And even though over the years and the decades, the business has changed immensely, every aspect of it, but the business mentality and way we like to operate and the way we like to do things hasn't really changed, generation to generation. We tend to focus more on the finished product and making sure that whatever goes out, we're proud of. So.
To grab, yeah, that's
I mean, you can't be in business for 120 years, the same place, same town, with all the changes and challenges that has been faced, by just trying to make a quick buck,
Right.
And it's about long-term, it's long-term contacts, long-term customers, just maintaining that, that's our focus.
It's great to learn about the operations that you were just describing, all your roles. Scott, your sister Julie, and then I think Sarah's back there. She's also part of the family, correct?
She's part of the family, but she's just pops in to help out on holidays. We without family members to come in and assist us during
nice.
our busy times, there's no way we could get it all done. You're doing so much more business, but we don't like to make them a week ahead of time, 3 days ahead of time. We try to make all of our arrangements up the night before or the day that they're being delivered. It'd be a lot more profitable if I made things, a week ahead of time when it's slower and stocked up the place and had people come and deliver it. But at the other end, the consumer end, the person who receives the flowers, it's going to make the big difference there.
Absolutely.
So it's all about trying to get the freshest product in, the nicest product, and get into somebody's home in the best condition.
So a lot of these arrangements, I know you said Julie does a lot of the prepping and stuff like that. I'm assuming a lot of this stuff is done off hours, and it would be right? Are you guys back there when the shop closes?
It's not uncommon for people driving by here to see us with the lights on till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Wow.
It's just something that's part of this business.
Yeah.
Any kind of business that's surrounded by holidays. And you grow up with it, so it's just normal. For anybody else, maybe putting in those long days might not be. But anybody who runs a business knows you can't do it with a small business by bringing in or having all the extra people all the time. I mean, you have to run, your ship kind of tight when during the slow storm times, and then when it's busy, count on people, friends, family, to increase our workforce for those times. It allows us to survive as many decades as we have through pandemics, world wars, depressions. When you think back of all the recessions, just the changes in people's buying habits and whatnot, the only way to do that is by being flexible. So.
This is great as we do Hometown Threads episode 55. Come on in. We have customers just walking right through here. It's as usual. It's a popular time. Any time of year is popular here at Dawson Floors. Scott Dawson with us on episode 55 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, Willimantic Today, Facebook, and Spectrum 192, and the YouTube page, of course. Brought to you by Liberty Bank, be community kind. So you mentioned the help you get, especially around the holidays. Are there more Dawsons on call besides Sarah? I mean, you say you call in
extended family members,
right?
Friends, yeah, anybody who we don't like to, there are businesses that'll just subcontract out for delivery. We try to always maintain people, family, friends that have experience, because we're delivering something that's fragile.
Yeah.
And it's not like delivering a box, from a big box store where they can just drop it on somebody's porch.
Right.
It's perishable, it's fragile. So we like to have people who are experienced, and we're fortunate that we can count on drivers who have done this with us for years.
Probably have a few drivers too.
Yeah,
right?
for years they've been doing it with us. So yeah.
Okay, and you also mentioned before, navigating through tough times, like we had the pandemic not too long ago, recessions. How has Dawson Floors, over the years, in business since 1904, how'd you navigate through those tough moments?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you look around, you see a place that's not flashy. You see ceilings that go back to the turn of the century.
Has this building been okay? I mean, I'm sure, like any old building, I'm sure you've had its issues.
Yeah, but it could be dumped a lot of money into this stuff. My sister and I argue about this all the time.
Oh, really?
She'd like to put new carpeting and this and that. And my train of thought is, I'm going to spend money on something that isn't going to make my arrangements better. It might take away from them. So we try to run lean. We try to have a flexible workforce. We've always been flexible with our long-term employees that we've had over the years, which in turn makes loyalty, a big thing. So when they need time off, historically, no problem, take your time off. We all need times off, but when they knew when we needed the help, they were here working for us, and that goes a long way. It is not, unfortunately, the old ways of doing business. I think back to my grandfather telling me how they ran business back in the day.
How was that?
It was done on handshakes.
How about that?
Didn't need, there were contracts. Just shake a hand.
All right, thank
and
you.
It was done.
Unbelievable.
And your word meant a lot, and your reputation. And I'm so envious of that time. Nowadays it seems like there isn't that loyalty anymore. Mostly in big businesses you see it, but in the small businesses we try to maintain that same sense of responsibility and treating each other that way. So,
We're here with Scott Dawson of Dawson Floors on Hometown Threads on WILI, episode 55. Keith C. Rice here, and to talk about, you're in a great location. Okay, right here, Pleasant Street, Willimantic, heavy traffic. The footbridge, the Frog Bridge, heck, the radio station's right across the footbridge there. You talked about this building. Was there any time during maybe when your father was running it? We got to talk about your father too, and I'm sure his time period here. But was there any time over the years where you guys said you considered a move possible?
Well,
you're in a great location.
Funny you should mention that. Back during the early 80s, we went through a recession, and we had a number of employees who were working with us. And I can remember sitting down with my father and my mother, and we actually talked about shutting down. This was in like 1982, 83, during that time. And we considered it because, should we shut down or are we going to do things different? And we decided to stay open. We basically had to shed all the employees we had, which was very painful. Mostly part-time people, delivery. And it was just me, my mother, my father. And my father was visionary enough to listen to a couple suggestions that I had made, and he was actually one of the first people around who started selling roses deeply discounted as a cash sale.
Your dad?
My father, he allowed, I was just a teenager, so.
Wow.
But he allowed us to do that, and it just brought customers in. The sign was out here on Pleasant Street, and you could actually, when people saw a sign driving through, you could hear them slam on the brakes sometimes. Come in. And it actually allowed us to survive and resurrect and slowly rebuild it again. But I owe him a lot, because he would do all the arrangements. My mom would answer the phones and wait on customers, and I took care of the greenhouses, which we had a few back then, and I did all the deliveries and whatnot. So we worked hard and rebuilt our business. And thankfully, it was a good learning process for me. And we've even through our recent pandemic, just.
How was that from COVID? How did Dawson deal with the whole COVID phase?
Like everybody, it affected us. Not a large part, but a certain part of our business was funeral work, and all of a sudden that was shut down. And it was just me, my mom, and my sister here, so we told Mom not to come anymore. She's upper 70s. So she would come in for a few months, and Julie and I, we took care of everything, and we stayed open. And because people couldn't gather, they started to send flowers, a lot of orders started coming in. And we're probably one of the few. There are businesses that prospered, and we were fortunate to be one of them. Julie and I worked really hard for a couple of years, and we decided at one point we need a break, so we shut down for the first time ever.
For how long?
Down for a vacation for a week and a half.
A week and a half?
Yeah, we would always split.
This is during COVID?
Yeah, during the COVID.
No, drivers could still deliver flowers, so I'm sure business, was it still coming in? I mean, probably not as.
It switched from people coming in to a lot of internet business.
Right.
And, we would get our orders made for delivery. There was no walk-in, the door was shut here.
Sure.
We would get our deliveries ready, and our driver would come in, load up in 10 minutes, and go take off and deliver everything, and then that was it. We only did one run.
Probably wearing a mask going to the door, I would assume, and all that.
A lot of people just, ring the doorbell and go. Whatever the requirements were. You still, you're going to somebody's house. You have to respect that. So,
tell us about the delivery process these days, because there's a lot of people think you can come in the old-fashioned way and order flowers. You can call and you do it online. Am I missing another way you can order flowers?
Well, those are the major ways to order directly with us. One of the big changes in the industry in sending flowers is in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. You had some what we call order gatherers start to pop up. The first one being 800 Flowers. They came in and started taking orders and becoming like a middleman. And they actually took over our wire service, FTD.
Oh, wow.
We were a member of FTD since 1919, but when they bought out, we stopped. And my father, another good decision he made back in the day is that we found out that half of the orders we were making delivering on holidays were these orders that were gathered by, phone banks basically, and sent to us. And we found out that we were becoming their employee, instead of our own owners of our business. So he stopped that. We stopped taking all the orders. Start with 800 flowers, Pro flowers, Forever flowers, Ava's flowers. There's many of them out there. And they prospered because the consumer, they'll look up Dawson Florist and all of a sudden these other guys will come, take over. They'll be redirected to their site or mistakenly join them. And it is a little bit of a nuisance. I feel bad for the customers because they don't care about the customers. They just want the sale. And there are horror stories, and we try to encourage people to call us directly or call any florist directly. Avoid them. You're going to get your best service, you're going to get your best quality, and you're going to get your best price by calling directly. So, even sending orders out of town nowadays, I don't have any problem giving somebody a phone number. I want people to be happy because if they're unhappy, they have a lot of other options than buying flowers. So,
well, I told you this show goes by fast. We just have a few minutes left here with Scott Dawson of Dawson Florist, in business since 1904 here on Pleasant Street in Willimantic. In the remaining few minutes, I've got a couple quick questions. First of all, most popular holiday. Here we are on the doorstep of Valentine's Day. I know it's extremely popular. I know you guys, even around the holidays, are still very busy. Christmas, sympathy, birthdays. What else am I missing?
This is it. This is the Super Bowl of the flower business. This is our biggest one-day holiday. It's not the biggest holiday, business-wise, but for being busy, for the amount of customers to come through, deliveries all in one day. Probably Christmas is bigger.
Really?
But it's spread out over 3 or 4 weeks, so we don't really notice it. And then
birthdays, anniversaries.
Then the other one is Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah, moms.
Of course.
People can't forget their moms.
That's right.
And, that's coming up in a couple months, too. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys are always cranking here. And again, I love the location. It's been here. Well, I grew up in this area, so before I was born, obviously, 1904. And it's great to have Scott Dawson here. He told some great stories. I wish we had more time, so I want to hear more stories about your father and all that. But what year, real quickly, what year did your father take over, and when did you get involved in the family
My father
business?
took over in the early 1970s.
Okay.
My mother, when my father passed in 94, my mother took over. And last year at 81, she finally retired. So, and Julie and I took over. So.
You and Julie and Sarah back there and the entire Dawson family are doing a great job. And before, I always give my guests the opportunity to shout out or give thanks to along this incredible journey for you and your family. Anybody you want to thank or say or just recognize?
Well, I already recognize my biggest influence in my life, and I grew up and worked with him, was my dad. He set the tone for me and my sister, and this is how we operate. And other than that, all I gotta say is if you're gonna say it with flowers, give us a call and say it with ours.
I love it.
So
say that again, one more time. I love this. That's awesome.
If you say it with flowers, give us a call and say it with ours.
I love it. I love it. Well, just like they said back in the day, they did it with a handshake. So I'll shake this fine gentleman's hand,
Well,
Scott
I appreciate
Dawson.
it. I enjoyed spending the time with you.
Oh, it was great. And it smells beautiful in here. I don't want to leave. So I know we're running over, Matt. Thank you. Thank you to J. Matt Rupar, Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. Thank you to Scott Dawson and Dawson Florist. Valentine's Day, here we are. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching Hometown Threads, brought to you by Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber, bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.